Morning, we go to the Chumash of the day. We start again with Zos HaBracha, the last portion of the book of Devarim, and we're holding on chapter 33, verse number 1. Zos HaBracha Shaberach Moshe Ish Elokim, and this is the blessing which Moshe, the man of God, blessed as Bnei Yisrael, the Jewish people, the day before he died. So Rashi says, very close to the time of his death, if not now, when? Verse number 2, Vayema, and he said, Hashem, God, Misinai Ba, the Abish came from Sinai, V'zarach Mesei Elamai, and he shunned from the Seir to them. Haifir Mahar Paran, and then he went to the Mount of Paran, V'asar Mivris Kedesh, and he came some of the holy mirrors. Mimina Eish Das Lamai, from his right hand was a fiery law of them. So Rashi says that over here, Moshe Rabbeinu Pasach, he initiated his blessing by praising God and then addressing the needs of Israel. The praises which Moshe commences mention the merits of Israel. All of this was a way of consolation, as to say, these people are worthy of that blessing should rest upon them. And he's praying to God that he should be able to bless the Jewish people. Misinai Ba, he came out towards them when they came to stand on Mount Sinai, as a bridegroom comes forth to greet his bride. And as it says, and Moshe brought the people forth towards God. We learn from this that God came towards them. Before he went to Seir. Why did he come from Seir? Because God first offered it to the family, to the children of Esau, and then who lived in Seir but didn't accept it. I feel him to them, Mahar Paran. And then he went to the mountain of Paran, because he went there to the children of Ishmael, and he asked the children of Ishmael if they wanted the Torah, and they said no. And then V'asal Yisrael, he came to the Jew, he came to the Jewish nation. With God were only some of the myriads of his holy angel, but not all of them, not even most of them. This is unlike a man of a mortal king who comes and displays his splendors and he needs to prove himself. The Eibishter comes, doesn't need to have any help. Eish Das. So Rashi says it was originally written before God in letters of black fire upon the background of white fire. He gave it to them on tablets inscribed, as it were, by his right hand. Thus it says, from his right hand. Another explanation, Eish Das, as Tigrum renders it, he gave it to them amidst the fire. That's why there's some who say that that's the two letters of the Torah. One is black fire, and then it's written, and then between the letters is the white fire. And that's the two fires that were given at Mount Sinai. Verse number 3. Av chayvev amav, indeed, he showed love for people. Kol Kadesh Beidecha, all his holy ones are in his hands. Ve'ein tukul raglecha, and they let themselves be centered by your feet. Yisa midabreisecha, bearing your utterances. So Rashi says, Av chayviv amim, gam chiba yisera. God also displayed a great affection to the tribes, each one to whom we were known as a people. For only Benjamin was destined to be born when the Holy One, blessed be he, said to Jacob, a nation, a multitude of nations come from your existence. Thus we see that Benjamin alone was called a nation. A multitude of nations refers to Ephraim and Manasseh. So he multiplied the Jewish people. All your holy ones are in your hand. What does that mean? This refers, Rashi says, to the souls of the righteous, which are hidden away with God. It says, but my Lord is my Lord's soul's bond, that a tzaddik, a soul of a tzaddik is bond with God himself. Be centered at your feet, and Israel indeed worthy of this privilege, to have their souls hidden away with God, because all Jews are righteous, as the Mishnah says, because they place themselves right in the middle, in the bottom of the mountain at your feet. So they deserve that. They set themselves at your feet. The word tuku is a passive conjunction, which has the meaning skavnu. They allowed themselves to be placed right in the middle. Yisra midabre secha, noso aleim alter secha. They bore upon themselves the yoke of your Torah. Kol kedosha biyadecha. All the holy ones are in your hands. Kol hatzadikim v'tevim. All the righteous and good people clung to you. And they never went away from you. And you guarded them. And they placed themselves right in the middle and entered beneath your shadow. They bearing your utterances, they gladly accept the decrees of your laws. Verse number 4. The Torah which Moshe commanded to us is a legacy, Meirasha, inheritance, a legacy, Kehila Sakev, to the congregation of Jacob. Rash says, we have taken hold of it and we will not forsake it. Verse 5. And when the king of Jeshurun, whenever the sum of the total of the people gather, Yachat Shifti Yisrael, the tribes of Israel were together. The Holy One, blessed be Yeshua Melech. The yoke of God's sovereignty is always upon them. At any gathering, meaning whenever the numbers is gathered, Rashi, the verse says, we take account of the heads. These people are worthy that should be blessed. Another explanation: when Israel is gathered together in a unified group, and there is a peace among them, God is their king. And when there's strife, then the Eibishter is not with them. Verse number 6. Yechi Reuven v'Yomes made Reuven live and not die. He Mesa Mispar and his people be counted in the number. So Rashi says, Yechi Reuven ba'olam hazeh, in this world, v'Yomes lo'olam haba, in the world to come. That God should not remember the sin of Reuven, what he did when he mixed up the beds of his father. But ye Mesa Mispar, Rashi may Reuven be counted among the enumerates of the rest of his brothers. This matter that the incident involved Bilhah should not be included in Reuven from being counted together with his brothers. So God, Moshe Rabbeinu prayed that Reuven should always be part of the Jewish nation. Verse number 7. Yehuda, and then he turned to Yehuda. He said, and he said, Shema Hashem Kel Yehuda. O Lord, hearken to Yehuda's voice, v'alami me to Vienna, and bring him to his people. Yadav Rav Loi, may his hands do battle for him. Ve'ezim etzarav tia, and may you be the help against his adversaries. So Rashi says over here, Moshe Rabbeinu puts Yehuda and Reuven together because both confessed, they were both Balei Tshuva. They both had one thing in common, that they confessed their sins. And that's the beauty of both of them. Both of them, and that's why both of them, one was a Bechor and one became a leader. Because both of them confessed when they did something wrong. And Rashi goes on to say that over here, our rabbis further explain that during the entire 40 years that Israel was in the desert, the bones of Yehuda was rolling in his coffin. Because he said, when he went to his father, he said, I should be excommunicated. He was afraid that even saying that, he will be excommunicated. And he was very, very extremely, because he wasn't buried until he came to Eretz Yisrael. They took his coffin out of Mitzrayim. They took all the 12 tribes' coffins out of Egypt. And he was worried that he would never find peace. And Moshe Rabbeinu said, you're now going to find peace. I'm going to give you peace. I'm going to open up the heavens, the Gan Eden for you. Shema Hashem Kol Yehuda. May the Lord hearken to the voice of Yehuda. Over here, David HaMelech prayed that when Asa because of the Ethiopians and that of Josephus and the account of the Ammonites, when the children of Yehuda, the kings of Yehuda, will go out to war, God should be with them. To Vienna, and bring him back in peace to his people. After the war, they should come back in peace. Yadav Rav Loi, may your hands fight his battle, and may they exact the vengeance. Let's fight for Yehuda. So over here, Rashi says Moshe Rabbeinu was praying for again the descendants of Yehuda, Josephus, concerning the battle of Ramat Gilad, and that over there you see that Yeshafat, He cried out to God, and over here Moshe Rabbeinu prayed for him that his prayer should be accepted and he should win the war. Shema Shem Kol Yehuda. Let the God hear the voice of the Yehuda. So Rashi says an interesting interpretation. Shema is the letters of Shemain. So over here, included with Judah's blessing, Moshe Rabbeinu added Shemain, Shema. Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't give a blessing, and all the blessings he doesn't mention Shimon. Moshe Rabbeinu was angry with the tribe of Shimon because they went out against Pinchas, the story of Pinchas, with the head of the tribe of Shimon, went and wanted the Jewish people to sin, with the story after Bilam and Balak. And Moshe Rabbeinu was extremely angry at the tribe of Shimon, and therefore he didn't want to put him in the blessing. But Chas v'Shalom, he loved every Jew, and therefore he added him in the blessing of Yehuda. He said, Shema, Hashem Kol Yehuda. Shema is the first three letters of the word of Shema. And that completes the Chumash of the day. The Tanya of today, for the 20th day of Tishrei, the Tanya starts off in the 23rd letter of the Alter Rebbe. So over here, this letter, in the letter that follows, the Alter Rebbe urges Chassidim to devote the daily intervals between Mincha and Ma'ariv to the group of study of Ein Yankiv and to the laws of Shulchan Aruch that are frequent and practical application. He introduces appeal by explaining how sublime as divine presence that dwells within the Jews when they study publicly Torah. Indeed, only in the world to come can this lofty level of divinity be manifested, received, and as a reward. So here the Alter Rebbe says, "B'gzeres idem piginim mer kedushin." The statement is made the decree of a wakeful angels by the word of those holy. This phrase is used by the sages, and here by the Alter Rebbe, to denote the eminent Torah scholars who are likened to ministering angels. The sages of the Mishnah, peace be unto them, that they taught in the Mishnah, that 10 Jews sit and learn Torah, then the presence of God is amongst them. That's what it says in Pirkei Avos. The similar teaching, the Shekhinah hovers over a gathering of 10 Jews, meaning that only the divine presence hovers over them, transcends an encompassing matter, as explained in the end of Tanya chapter 11. In this instance, however, the 10 Jews are studying Torah together. The Shekhinah rests amongst them in an internal manner. For the whole purpose of man is to learn Torah. Moreover, the man's soul descends in the world was for the purpose of this ascent, which is accomplished through the public study of Torah. Which is no great aliyah, no great elevation. So the ultimate ascent of the soul, the reason for which the soul initially descended, is to attain not only after it completes its ascent, after it leaves the body, rather through public Torah study, while the soul is within the body, it causes the Shekhinah to rest in this nether world, and thereby elevating more than by any other means. For the Shekhinah of God might, which is supernal height of whose awesome the heavens and the heavens of heaven cannot contain. Maybe the heavens cannot contain them, but they dwell and become magnified amongst the children of Israel. As it's written, Ki ani Hashem, I am God, Hashoichim b'sefer bnei Yisrael, who dwells amongst the children of Israel. How does God dwell amongst us? The result of learning Torah and observing commandments, dafka with a minion. For 10 Jews, because 10 Jews considers a congregation. As our sages said, we infer a conclusion from the two appearances of the word Torah. So over here, the Alter Rebbe says, it means, in a certain specific cases, the sages draw an analogy of one expression of Torah to an identical expression, different. It's called the Gzeira Shava. A comparison of two kinds of Gzeda is made between two appearances of the above words. In one verse it says, I will become sanctified amidst Toich B'nai Yisrael. I will sanctify myself in the midst. While another verse says, while another verse referring to the 10 of the spies dispatched by Moshe states from the midst Toich of the congregation. So over there it says that in one place it says, I will sanctify in midst of the Jewish people. Another same time it says it's when Moshe Rabbeinu said the 10 tribes, he said, I send them from the midst of the Jewish people. So there's 10 men. And over here, God says, if you have 10 men, come and daven, I will be there. Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak, Six Lubavitch Rebbe asked, of all the possible context, why do our sages derive the rule from an evil assemblage of the spies? Concerning his above quoted verse, in the fact states, separate yourself from the midst of this congregation. Answering the one question that Rebbe explains with these words, Moshe Rabbeinu sought to insulate the people from the makiv of evil, from the transcending and most intense dimension of evil. As far as pnimi of evil was concerned, the permeating, the less intense dimension of evil, Moshe was able to rectify it. Now, since everything in the realm of holiness has its counterpart in Klippa, in the force of evil, it follows that the level of holiness referred here is a transcending level. Thus, when the congregation of at least 10 participants engage collectively in a prayer or Torah study or observance of a mitzvah, it elicits as a response to it transcends the level of divinity from a makif that is utterly superior to the light called forth from the group of fewer than 10. And that's why it says, the Holy One is within you. This means that the level of divinity which is holy, in a sense that is initially distinct from this world, is thereby drawn down and integrated within the 10 or more people that are involved. As the Rebbe explained in the above mentioned talk, the Fidik Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe had spoken earlier of the transcending degree of illumination that merely encompasses one. At this point, he cites the phrase that the Holy One is within you, to indicate that this encompassing illumination can become internalized within a Jew. There's nothing that a congregation of Davish B'Kedusha, holy words, can be said, Pachas Masar, if you don't have 10 men. So it requires a decorum of 10 men. Thus, in order holiness to be within you, it's necessary that Torah be studied in a group of at least 10. And this also explains why our sages of blessed memory had derived the concept, the verse. They said, from where do we know that even one person who sits and engages in the study of Torah, the Holy One, blessed be He, is with him? So the Mishnah derives the answer from the verse, he sits alone and studies in stillness. Indeed, he takes the report upon himself. Evidently, then, a proof text was needed to show that even individuals are rewarded. But if you have 10, even this, even the concept of one sitting and learning Torah himself, they couldn't. The sages couldn't find a pasuk. They found a statement that the pasuk that says you'll receive reward, but only in the allotment of a reward to an individual, proportionate to himself in a proportion to the many. So here the Alter Rebbe says there are fewer than 10 individuals. The reward is divided equally amongst them, according to the version, and in proportion, the more individuals participate, the greater the reward for each of them. But the concept of dwelling of God in the midst of the Jewish people, cloud, when you have a minyan, that's why the power of davening with a minyan, learning with a minyan, no comparison in any way between learning by yourself and learning with a minyan, or davening by yourself, or praying with a minyan. Shechina Shuri b'neim, automatically, if you come to a minyan, the Eibush is there. The distinction between causing divine dwelling by collective study and allotted reward to an individual student. If you worry about reward, it is understood to discern thinkers. So if you want to say, oh, but I got a reward anyway, if you want to compare the concept of God coming down to the world, or you or me receiving a reward, then you can understand. If you're a smart person, you'll understand the difference and the great difference between them. And that ends the Tanya of the day. Today is the 20th day of the month, which is chapter 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, and 102. So it's from 97 to 102. I wish you all a beautiful and happy day, a wonderful day, good moed, and we'll see you Mitchell today at 4:30. We're having pizza in the hut, and get ready, Mitchem, as we go to Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah. See you all tomorrow at 8 a.m.